Lipids is the second group of macromolecules that we need to talk about. And this is the one class of macromolecules that doesn't have any monomers making up the polymer. So they don't include them in true polymers because polymers are made up of individual monomers, and that's just not the case with lipids. The one thing that they all have in common with each other is that they're nonpolar. They don't mix well with water. So if you think back to what polarity is where the molecule has a partial positive end and a partial negative end. Well, they're hydrophobic because most of what makes them up are hydrocarbons, and hydrocarbons tend to form nonpolar covalent bonds with one another. The most biologically important lipids are our fats. We'll talk a lot about fats. Phospholipids. The phospholipid is a lipid that contains a phosphorus group, and its major role is to make up the cell membrane in animals. And steroids. The most popular steroid, the most common that we have in our body, is cholesterol, but there are many different kinds of steroids. Okay, taking our fats first, the fats consist of a glycerol molecule, and then it has fatty acid chains attached to it. Glycerol is a 3-carbon molecule that has an OH group on it, so it is an alcohol. And the OH group is attached to each one of the carbons. The fatty acid consists of a carboxyl group attached to a long carbon skeleton. So let me show you what this looks like. Okay, at the top, if you notice on the left in gray, there's 3 carbons. Each one has an OH or a hydroxyl group attached to it. This is your glycerol molecule. And then the fatty acids can either be 1 chain, 2 chains, or 3 chains like the one at the bottom. At the top, you can see that there's a carboxyl group here, and it releases the OH to combine with the H off of one of the hydroxyl groups to release water, because this is a type of molecule that has a very, very special bond. The bond between the two is actually called an ester linkage. Now, if you have got, if you look at it, it's all carbon, and all the carbons are bound to hydrogens. When all of the carbons are bound to hydrogens like this, it's considered to be a saturated fat because the carbons are literally saturated with hydrogens. At the bottom, you can see that there are 3 fatty acid chains, so this makes it a triglycerol, tri meaning 3, and all 3 fatty acid chains are attached to the glycerol molecule. And you can see that with each chain, that ester linkage exists. You may have heard of triglycerides if you have your blood taken. That's one of the things that the doctors check, because when you have this type of fat, because there's no double bonds between the carbon, all the carbons are saturated with hydrogens. If we added a double bond, then it would have to knock off 2 hydrogens. Well, these are saturated with hydrogens, so these are considered to be saturated fats, and saturated fats are the type of fat that gets in our bloodstream and causes plaque, which, kind of like on your teeth, causes a buildup. It really looks like yellow chicken fat, actually, and it builds up on the inside of our arteries, and it can lead to heart disease.